Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, presented by Bolin Media. I am your host, Ross Bolin. And if you couldn't tell from the opening soundbite, today we are starting out with the latest wave of James Harden drama. After yet another disappointing postseason exit, falling short of the NBA Finals with multiple lackluster performances down the stretch, James Harden once again attempted to force his way out of another organization, this time the Philadelphia 76ers, much like he did with our Houston Rockets, much like he did with the Brooklyn Nets. But now, you could say the situation in Philly is crazy, and I don't think it can be fixed. Let me say that again. This situation is crazy, and I don't think it can be fixed. Back in June, the Beard opted into his contract for next season to the tune of $35.6 million. He could have declined the option and become a free agent, but he didn't. Then, after opting in, Harden demanded a trade to the Los Angeles Clippers, and everything since then has devolved into a total shit show. This is simply speculation, but it would appear that he was convinced to opt into his contract rather than become a free agent on the grounds that Philadelphia would trade him, because trading a player on the final year of their deal is a hell of a lot easier than trading one that has just signed a new max contract. That potential promise that Philadelphia would trade him if he opted in would, of course, have been made by the president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia 76ers, one Daryl Dork Elvis Morey. But Morey couldn't get a team, much less the Clippers, to agree to send back a package he deemed worthy of James Harden, instead opting to stand pat and keep Harden on last season's Eastern Conference Finals losing team. Now, a couple weeks ago, Harden posted a veiled threat to the 76ers on social media, stating that he had been comfortable for too long and that it was time to get uncomfortable, which, if you read between the lines, was essentially him saying, make the trade happen, or I will create a situation that is so toxic you feel you have no choice. Then, James Harden traveled to China, which he often does in the offseason at the behest of Adidas to sell his signature shoes as well as further his massive following of Chinese fans. And using his Instagram stories, he was documenting his trip for all of us to see. Now, first of all, James Harden gets what is essentially the equivalent of like Elvis treatment in China, okay? Like if you saw any of the videos he puts up, I mean, it swarms way bigger crowds of fans waiting for this dude at each and every one of the events that they had set up. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rabid James Harden fans, most of them either wearing or wielding Rockets battle red jerseys from back during James Harden's tenure on our team. And I mean, like he's a god in China. Largely the result of the Houston Rockets fan base that exists in China, which is largely the result of one Yao Ming. But as everybody knows who follows the NBA, the Rockets gained this huge fan base in China as a result of drafting and Yao Ming's tenure in a Rockets jersey. And all of our stars since Yao Ming's tenure have gained a massive foothold of fans in China, including Tracy McGrady, who obviously played with Yao. But this is one of the big upsides of being on the Houston Rockets, and it was one of the strategically, like, brilliant sort of side things that happened because we had Yao. We got huge in China. We became like the number one basketball team in China, and every Rocket star since has enjoyed the benefits of that in the form of brand deals and like advertising shit and shoe deals. And James Harden is probably the biggest example outside of Yao Ming himself. He is absolutely massive there, which kind of makes me ask the question, just based on seeing the footage from the events in China, like, was he mainly trying to come back to Houston to further his Chinese following? And I think the answer is probably yes. Like, from a business and from an economic fiscal standpoint, he stood to make a lot more money outside of his NBA contract if he came back to the Rockets. Now, that's kind of neither here nor there, because while in China, Harden did all of these events, and then video footage from one event in particular started circulating on the internet where he said,
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of.
Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of. Let me say that again. Daryl Morey is a liar, and I will never be a part of an organization that he's a part of again. The entire video is, frankly, strange. Like, why he felt the need to repeat himself, I do not know. Harden is shuffling his feet while making the statement, seemingly either uncomfortable with having to deliver it at all or just so enraged that he is unable to discuss it and remain calm. But he did say it was time to get uncomfortable, and he has definitely achieved that. It's one thing to be upset with Daryl Morey, though, for failing to keep his word on a handshake deal that may or may not violate the NBA's tampering rules, but it's another to call the man a liar, publicly, and proclaim that you will never be a part of an organization that includes him when he's the guy who has been at the helm of your basketball career for basically a decade now. I ride for Daryl Morey. Always have and always will. But I also ride for James Harden. Always have, probably always will. So this is a conflicting situation for me. Just a couple months ago, I was one of the morons pushing to see James Harden in a Rockets jersey again, which of course begs the question, did the Rockets dodge a bullet? And the answer is yes, obviously. And God bless Ime Udoka. James Harden is an all-time great basketball player, one of the most gifted and unique scorers and offensive operators in the history of the game, bar none. A brilliant point guard who, many forget, led the NBA in assists just last season. But James Harden has proven time and again that he is not a team-first player. He is not a leader, and he is not the guy you want to hand the keys to your franchise on the decline of his prime, because there is too much baggage. And winning a championship has always seemed to be further down his list of priorities than stacking cash, being a celebrity, and making it rain in the club. Now, I like seeing James Harden shine. I love his game. I think as a dude, he seems like a cool, understated, very unique person. But I certainly don't want him leading my basketball team, regardless of if they have championship potential, which the Rockets currently do not, but the 76ers arguably do. And if you're Daryl Morey, you probably would prefer being able to move Harden. But only if the return is right. And since it wasn't, he potentially reneged on his word to the superstar he has wooed to two different teams. It's a really, really shitty situation, for lack of a better term, where I don't really feel like anybody's in the right or the wrong, but the person who has the most to lose by handling things the way that they are is without a doubt number 13, James Harden. Daryl Morey runs the entire franchise right now. If you think they're going to fire him after just a few years, you are incorrect. If you think they're going to fire him for James Harden, you're way off base. And I don't really know who is advising Harden on the way he handles his career, on the things that he does right now. But I have to say, just from like a consumer, from a fan standpoint, this is obviously a bad look. If you need to call the guy a liar, you call him a liar to his face. Doing it in the media, doing it the way Harden did at some weird, awkward, staged Chinese event where you can't even tell if it's like fans that were there or the media or if he was answering a question. The whole thing felt like it seriously might have just been staged for this one fucking soundbite. Like, the whole thing is bizarre. The guy was already getting dogged left and right for his performances in Games 6 and 7 in the Boston Celtics series in the Eastern Conference Finals last season. He has done nothing to build upon his reputation as a guy who really doesn't care which team he's on or who he's playing with. It's just about getting the maximum amount of money every single time, which there's nothing wrong with that. Chase the bag, player, do your thing. But like I said, winning has never seemed like his number one priority. It seems like enjoying life, hanging out with Lil Baby, and wearing crazy fashion, like those things seem to be higher up his list than winning a championship, which when you're looking to commit max contract money to a dude who's getting into his mid-30s, that's definitely on the tail end of his prime in one way or another, even if he did lead the NBA in assists last season, that's a sketchy situation, and one that I don't think any general manager in the NBA was really going to be comfortable with even before he called his current president of basketball operations a fucking liar, basically on international TV. Like, that's the equivalent. So it's not good, right? But as far as our Rockets, though, it's not our problem. Thank God. But I do look forward to watching this juicy drama between two of the most legendary figures in the history of Houston sports continue to unfold, because, wow, what a mess. One thing about Houston that you better make peace with if you want to survive, it is really freaking hot in the summer. And if you don't dress accordingly, you will die accordingly. Fortunately, Bird Dogs will have you looking good and feeling good all summer long in the most comfortable and versatile shorts, pants, and bathing suits in the entire world. Today's episode is, of course, brought to you by Bird Dogs. I've been wearing them for several years now. I'm wearing a pair right now as we speak. They cannot be beaten. I wear Bird Dogs to sleep. I wear Bird Dogs to do yard work, to work out, to go swimming, to do everything. They fit great. They look great. They feel great. They're insanely comfortable. They come in a ton of different designs, all with funny names like the Duffy the Vampire Slayers, Uncle Bucks, Teddy Rubskins, Forest Pumps, Art Fart Knockers, Marco Pool Boys, Zero Dark 30s, and Tight Wads. I have an entire drawer of my dresser occupied entirely by like 20 pairs of Bird Dog shorts. So if you want to look like money while you're working in the yard or swimming at the pool this summer, Bird Dogs are the move, friend, and their pants are great for the golf course, the office, or going out to dinner, or hitting the bars. They are #versatile. Also, now they've got great looking polo shirts that are just as comfortable as the shorts. I got mine in the mail last week. It is great. Click on the link in the description below. Go to birddogs.com/BTC, enter code BTC at checkout, and they will throw in a free Bird Dogs tech hat like the one you see in front of me if you were watching on YouTube. Free hat. Great hat, beautiful hat, for free when you go to birddogs.com/BTC and use the code BTC as in banging the can at checkout. birddogs.com/BTC, code BTC. Now, since our last show, the Astros have completed their series against the Yankees and then took on the Orioles and the Angels. The Yankees series was all right, not great. Splitting 2 games apiece, losing Verlander's first start since his return to the roster in throwback form as a result of run support. But overall, we left New York unscathed. Then we took 2 of 3 from the Orioles in what was definitely a successful series in Baltimore. Then we took 2 of 3 from the Angels, both wins coming with a final score of 11-3 before flaming out and dropping the series closer. In Justin Verlander's second start since rejoining the roster, he once again looked sharp, but this time he got more than enough run support to get his first win in an Astros uniform in 2023. Verlander has been Verlander. I mean, we've gotten basically the exact same version of him that we got during the regular season last year, which is where his stuff looks good. He looks settled and confident out there on the mound. He's given up a dinger a game, right? 1 or 2 runs, and then it is completely dependent on whether or not our Astros offense produces to get the win. In the case of his first game back against the Yankees, we obviously didn't give him the run support. He didn't get the win. Second game against the Angels, gave him the run support. He gets the win. So I think what we've seen from JV so far is extremely promising in terms of bolstering our starting pitching and moving toward the postseason here. That was the biggest hole in our current team. So all in all, that trade just has been looking better and better. And I'm happy to see Justin Verlander doing as well as he's doing. He's also taking pot shots at the New York Mets organization and the media, which I enjoy as well. But the biggest story from that Angels series was far and away the return of Jon Singleton. And if you don't remember who Jon Singleton is, or you don't remember the last time we saw Jon Singleton in an Astros jersey 8 years ago, the last time he hit a Major League home run in 2015, you are definitely not alone. But Jon Singleton became the best Astros story of the year and one of the best stories to come out of baseball this season when he crushed a home run in his first Major League at-bat since 2015, since 8 years ago. And then he crushed another home run in his very next at-bat. Now, the first home run alone made it probably the coolest moment of the Astros season. All in all things considered. Maybe right there with like Verlander's first pitch back in an Astros jersey. But the second home run, the next at-bat, I mean, this was like 18 minutes apart. Bomb, followed by bomb. It was absolutely amazing. One of the coolest stories in recent memory as an Astros fan. Super, super cool. And it's even cooler when you get into like his entire baseball story. His 8-year absence was the result of several failed drug tests and suspensions for marijuana, which eventually led him to walk away from the game entirely for several years before he joined the Mexican League in 2021, then worked his way back to where you saw him last night, starting at first base for the Houston Astros. Just an insane story. An incredible story. One of the coolest baseball stories I've ever heard. 2,935 days between Major League home runs by a guy who exited the game altogether, walked away from baseball. Nobody knew if they'd ever see this dude again. And now he and JP France are two of my favorite Astros players this year, which everyone saw coming when this season started. Jon Singleton forever. Big John. And also, it's just another one of those weird things where it's like they don't test for weed the way that they used to. And as a dude who enjoys an edible and a joint from time to time, I've never for the life of me understood why professional sports would like test and suspend players based on pot use. Obviously, the landscape of marijuana in the United States has changed greatly over the last decade with more and more and more states legalizing the drug. But yeah, Jon Singleton is one of those big what ifs. You know, like what if weed had never been a thing that mattered in Major League Baseball? What would his career have looked like? He clearly has the power, right? He clearly has the mindset now. And while he's admittedly struggled with like substance abuse and dependence in the past, which in large part was in reference to his weed habit, the guy can play. The dude can hit the ball. He has crazy power, and he hit both of those moonshots to pretty much the exact same spot in the stadium. Almost the same dude almost got both home run balls. Awesome, awesome stuff. Super moving. Absolutely love to see that from Jon Singleton. And just as an aside, he almost single-handedly made me think like, yeah, I could give a shit about whoever Gilbert or the other guy that we gave up as prospects in the Justin Verlander trade. Like, this is why I trust this franchise to do what they do. We've got other dudes. This guy that people never thought would even play the game again, now he's up there cranking dingers back-to-back. Just awesome. Awesome. Anyway, the Astros are now in a series against the Marlins. We dropped Game 1 yesterday, and here's the thing. We are getting to the point of the season where the Astros should start to feel some pressure. The Rangers are not going away. They are legit. They are real. They aren't going to fade out and concede first place to the Astros. The Astros are going to have to take it. And that means winning games against beatable teams when your ace is on the mound, which they failed to do yesterday. That means consistency at the plate is needed. That means there are no more excuses with Alvarez and Altuve back healthy in the lineup, Verlander back on the team. It is time for the squad to lock in and stack wins. It's that time of year as summer comes to a close. And yes, they're only 3.5 games back right now. 3.5 games back of the Arlington Rangers. I have no doubt they will make the playoffs regardless, even if it's in the form of a wild card spot. But if they want to continue the tradition of winning the division, they're going to need to resist that gap becoming 5 games or more over the next couple of weeks. Big, big games against the Marlins this week and the Mariners this weekend. And the good news at the end of all of this, pressure, Jon Singleton, Verlander, the trade deadline, getting to 1.5 games back. Even I think we were a half game back for a couple days there from the Rangers. Now we're back to 3.5 games. Michael Brantley starts his rehab stint in Sugar Land tonight. As of like 45 minutes ago, it was announced by the Astros. That is another big bat that could potentially be on the horizon to help keep this offense pumping when we see some holes in the lineup. Michael Brantley, Uncle Mike, on his way back. So just cross your fingers, pray to all of the gods that you believe in, baseball gods and otherwise, that this dude can get back on the field, actually play, and contribute. Because when you look at the lineup, how stacked it is, when you look at including Jon Singleton, when you look at including Michael Brantley, things start to get really, really exciting. And because the issue this team is still facing is consistency at the plate in terms of run production, that's where Michael Brantley brings me a lot of positive juju that I'm looking forward to seeing back in Minute Maid Park and in an Astros jersey rather than a, the Sugarland, what the hell is our minor league team called? It always slips my mind. Astros, I'm using the Google machine. Minor league team. It's the Sugarland Space Cowboys. I have one of their hats. Now I feel shame for not remembering. But yeah, Brantley back in the old Space Cowboys uniform tonight. Hope he does well. Hope he's as healthy as it sounds like he is now, and that he remains that way. He can get back in an Astros jersey, finish out the season with the team, get some momentum going toward October. That would be ideal. So, all things considered, we're still good. We're still playing well. You still like what you're seeing from the team on the whole. The problem is that the Rangers keep winning. And there was a point earlier in the season where obviously a lot of us, myself definitely included, thought like, they've had literally, mathematically, the easiest schedule in baseball pre-All-Star break. The Rangers aren't legit. They're going to fade out. That is no longer the case. I don't think anybody's still on that train. So now what you have to start to accept is that you cannot be losing games on days that they are winning games. You don't want this to become a thing where it is the focal point of the last month of the season. That's not what you want. You want the focal point of the last month of the season to be preparing for the postseason. And if we're having to worry the entire time about the fucking standings and where the Astros stand in comparison to the Rangers, like that's going to be mad annoying. I don't want that. I don't think any Astros fans do. So just give the Rangers their due and proper. Yes, they're legit. Yes, they are a good baseball team again. Their offense is one of the most high-powered in Major League Baseball. We got to be able to match that, rise above it, and get back to where we are belonging at the top of the divisional standings. It's been a weird year, a really, really weird Astros season. But if you look down at the paper and the way things have unfolded, it seems to be coming together about as well as you could possibly hope, considering the injuries that have occurred all season long. So I like where the Astros are at. I'm happy about the team play. I just, like I've said time and again over the last several weeks and the last few months, consistency at the plate, bolstering the bullpen and the pitching rotation. They've done some of these things. Now they have to put all the pieces together and see the production on the field change as a result. No time for hotline calls today, but blow up the hotline, 888-203-2339. You've got a 2-minute limit. Have your shit planned out before you call in so you don't sound like a doofus, please. I want your James Harden takes. I want your Houston Astros takes. I want your expectations for the Houston Texans this season. 888-203-2339. And if we get enough good calls, I will do another episode later in the week. And 888-203-2339. That will do it for today's show. But remember, every episode of Banging the Can is available on youtube.com/@bangingthecan. For those of you who would rather watch instead of just listen, if you're on YouTube and you're watching right now, hit the subscribe button, do it, comment, leave your comments, your questions, your takes in the comment section on YouTube as well, youtube.com/@bangingthecan. And frankly, even if you don't care to watch, I would appreciate you taking the time to subscribe on YouTube so we can continue to grow the show. On that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Tell them. Astros fans, Rockets fans, Texans fans in your life, tell them about Banging the Can. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Banging the Can. Support our sponsors. This week we have birddogs.com/BTC. Go to birddogs.com/BTC. Use code BTC at checkout. Get that free tech hat with your order. Check out my media startup, Bolin Media, at bolinmedia.com. My comedy show, The Ross Bolin Podcast, available wherever you listen to or watch Banging the Can. And again, follow us on TikTok at Banging the Can, as well as Instagram, Twitter, or the app formerly known as Twitter, and Threads as well, at Banging the Can. I am Ross Bolin. You can follow me on all the social media platforms at WRBOLEN, at WRBolin. I will be back soon. Get enough good calls in, 888-203-2339. I'll do another episode later in the week, and that'll be that. Until next time, go Astros, H-Town, stay down.